Aloha everyone. So who really owns most of the land on Maui? That's the question that I want to answer in this video. You see, there's been so much controversy on Maui regarding the availability of affordable housing, and right now, the shortage of housing is mostly being blamed on the people who own and operate short-term rentals, which has led to the controversial Bill 9 that aims to phase out thousands of legal short-term rentals here on the island. But if it's true that only about 5% of Maui's total land is in the urban or rural land use categories, and the remaining 95% is either conservation or agricultural land, then about 95% of Maui's total land is still mostly undeveloped. So while the majority of the population on Maui is living in and fighting over the 5% that is developed, who really owns the majority of the remaining 95%? Now, if you believe the narrative on mainstream news sources and social media, you probably think that the majority of the land is owned by wealthy celebrities like Oprah Winfrey or Jeff Bezos. Or maybe you think it's owned by the hotels and golf courses. Well, you just have to do a little bit of research to see that none of that is true. You see, based on the most current information that I've found, the top 10 largest landowners control a massive 64% of the island's total land. And you've probably never heard of most of them. Now, there really isn't any official database listing the exact acreages for Maui's largest landowners in 2025. But we are able to piece together a list that is close by looking at old maps, like this beautiful map from 2006 that is color-coded to show where the large landowners on Maui have their holdings. This map was created by the Hawaii GIS program and the Office of Planning. With this older data as a reference point, I can use AI to update the information based on large land sales since 2006. So based on my research, here are the 10 largest landowners on Maui.
The largest landowner on Maui by a wide margin is the state of Hawaii, as they own around 97,000 acres, which is over 20% of Maui's total land. The next largest landowner and the largest private landowner on Maui is Mahi Pono, which is a large agricultural company that owns around 41,000 acres or 8.8% of the total land on Maui. You might not recognize this name because the company was just formed in 2018 after purchasing most of Alexander and Baldwin's former sugar plantation lands. Next on the list is the U.S. federal government, which owns more than 33,000 acres, or about 7.2% of Maui's total land. Most of the federal land on Maui is a part of the Haleakala National Park. The fourth largest landowner is DHHL, which is short for Department of Hawaiian Homelands. They own over 30,000 acres, or 6.6% of Maui's total land, and one of their objectives is to issue very long 99-year homestead leases to eligible native Hawaiians. The fifth largest landowner is Haleakala Ranch, and they hold over 29,000 acres, or 6.2% of Maui's total land. Haleakala Ranch is a privately owned, family-run ranch with roots going back to the late 1800s. The sixth largest landowner on Maui is Maui Land and Pineapple Company, with more than 22,000 acres, or 4.9% of the entire island. Most of their land is held in West Maui, and they have recently been the center of some controversy, which we'll discuss later in this video. Rounding out the top 10 is the Ulapalakula Ranch with about 4% of Maui's total land, Wailuku Water Company with 2.1%. We have another ranch with 1.7%, and last but not least, the County of Maui, with just 1.6% of Maui's total land.
So again, these numbers might not be exactly accurate, but it's reasonably close, and really, the whole point of this exercise is to demonstrate that only about 5% of Maui's land is developed, and the majority of the remaining 95% is under the control of just a few large corporations and governmental agencies. So it isn't the short-term rental owners or the wealthy celebrities, and it's not even the large hotels and golf courses that are hoarding most of Maui's land. You see, they are not the real problem. but it's just easier to assign a face that you recognize as a scapegoat to the problem, instead of the large corporations that a lot of people have never even heard of. So why is it important that we understand who the large landowners are on Maui? Well, of course, if we want to build more affordable housing, we'll need more buildable land. But in addition to that, with our current infrastructure, if you control the land on Maui, you also control the water supply. And lack of water has also been blamed as one of the justifications for the county not approving more affordable housing. The recent narrative has been that the short-term rentals are using more than their fair share of water, and of course the hotels and golf courses are blamed as well. But is it possible that we already have plenty of water? We're just not managing it effectively? Let's go back to the map that I showed you earlier. You can see that the way these big chunks of land are sectioned off is based on how the water runs. This is based on the traditional Hawaiian system of land division. They used a wedge-shaped land division system that typically runs from the mountain down to the ocean. And each division usually followed the natural boundaries of a watershed, stretching from the upland forests down through the agricultural areas and out to the shoreline and reef. So you can see how these large landowners control where the water goes. And these large organizations don't always do a great job of taking care of the land or the water resource. As just one example, West Maui Land and Pineapple Company is shown here in the dark green, and it surrounds the Kapalua area on Maui's west side. And Maui Land and Pine was recently sued by the owners of Kapalua golf courses and several of the HOAs in Kapalua Resort. The lawsuit claims that Maui Land and Pine neglected the water system, breaching maintenance agreements and causing water shortages that were just not necessary. The water shortage was so bad that the golf course had to cancel the PGA Tournament of Champions that was scheduled in Kapalua for January of 2026. Now, since then, the area has received more rain, so the golf course is starting to turn green again. But is it really fair to blame short-term rental owners for a water shortage when they don't even control the water? But hold on for a moment. That's not the only problem with allowing these large organizations to neglect the land like this. Without good land stewardship, you increase the danger of wildfire. Let's take a closer look at the land surrounding Lahaina. You can see that the land surrounding Lahaina is owned by the state of Hawaii, shown here in the light green, and Kamehameha Schools, which is shown here in the dark blue. Both Kamehameha Schools and the state were found liable for contributing to the cause of the devastating Lahaina wildfire in 2023. Just look at the Lahaina wildfire settlement as proof. Kamehameha Schools is set to pay out $872 million towards the wildfire settlement fund, and the state of Hawaii will contribute another additional $807 million. Now, hopefully the first settlement checks will start going out to wildfire victims in early 2026, so families that were impacted by that fire can get some relief. But here we are nonetheless. We have the final vote coming up on Maui's Bill 9 in the next few days. Again, Bill 9 is the new legislation that would phase out thousands of short-term rentals on Maui in an effort to solve our housing shortage. But while we're busy fighting amongst ourselves about the short-term rentals and gossiping about celebrity land grabs, is it possible that we're missing the real problem? Is it possible that if we take better care of managing our undeveloped land, we can strive for a Maui that can be sustainably abundant, so that everyone's needs are met and everyone has an opportunity not just to survive, but to thrive as well? Now, I don't claim to have all the answers, but I do encourage everyone to do their own critical thinking. Feel free to let me know your thoughts on this subject in the comment section, and if you want to stay informed on what is really happening here on Maui, beyond the mainstream and social media narrative, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. I hope to see you on the next video. Aloha.